Welcome to Joy of the Hang. I'm your host, Sharon Stevenson. Today's conversation is about something we don't talk about enough, the people shaping our children during some of the most important years of their lives. When parents drop their kids off at preschool, they trust that those classrooms are filled with caring, qualified educators. But behind the scenes, schools are struggling with staffing shortages, burnout, and a system that often leaves teachers underpaid and unsupported. My guest today is working to change that. Paul Buckley is the founder and managing owner of Ratio Staffing, a platform reimagining how preschools connect with substitute teachers, enrichment educators, and speech pathologists. What makes Paul's story especially powerful is that this mission isn't theoretical for him, it's personal. Before becoming an entrepreneur, he spent nearly 20 years in the classroom as a preschool teacher himself. He's also spent time in biotech manufacturing leadership, training global teams, improving systems, and earning a Six Sigma green belt. Experience he now uses to bring innovation, transparency, and fairness into early childhood education staffing. Today, we're talking about the future of education, why supporting teachers matters more than ever, and how better systems create better outcomes for children, families, and entire communities. Paul, welcome to Joy of the Hang.
Thank you, Sharon. Nice to be here.
I'm so happy you're here all the way from California.
That's right. Yep.
So, Paul, tell us a little bit about your journey. You spent nearly 20 years as a preschool teacher before launching Ratio Staffing. What first drew you into early childhood education?
Well, yeah, and I think that to be clear, I wasn't 20 years in the classroom, so I have, I think, 20 years experience working with children directly and volunteering in different capacities. But my wife has been in the classroom for over 20 years. She gets all that credit.
Yeah.
Yeah. What really um, how I first got started, what drew me to working with children was honestly all of my friends and my cousin were working at an after school care program. And so they said, you should come check it out. It's like a lot of fun, you know? And so I was 17 and I went and checked it out and fell in love with it. And from there, I worked with preschoolers in the morning and then school age in the afternoon.
Okay.
And after that was through a civic organization, through a park and rec organization. And after I finished there, I was a lead preschool teacher in the threes classroom all day. So I was an all day dedicated preschool teacher at that point.
Yeah.
Um, what you know, so that's what initially got me in, but different things made me stay.
What kind of different things? What made
Well,
you
I
stay?
think, yeah, I honestly, first and foremost, like my first boss, Kelly, who ran the park and rec department, was such a phenomenal person and such a great manager and care provider, that none of us wanted to leave Kelly, right?
Oh,
She was just such a fantastic person and still is. I still talk to her. And I think what really felt so at home with her, and I felt so honored to be in the position I was in, right? I really felt honored to be welcomed into people's families and
yeah.
lives, right? I didn't have the words for it back then, but I had the feeling, right? That we are here when we're working with these children, we're in these families' lives. They're trusting us and welcoming us into their life, and we're making memories with these children. That
Yeah.
to me was never that I knew and had the words for back then. I was like, man, we're making memories with these kids from their childhood. And Kelly was a fantastic manager in a number of ways, obviously, like I said, but foundationally, what I really loved and still do, and it's been paramount to my success, is she was very clear on the expectation of the importance of this job, right? That sure, we have a good time together at work, but this
Yeah.
is a serious position we're in, right? We're entrusted with the lives of children. We're not here to mess around. If you're here just to
Mhm.
mess around and think it's some job, quote unquote, you are not sticking around. That's not happening here, right? And that I just love that, and the humanity of it, right, and the seriousness of the role. That's
Yeah.
why I really just felt honored to be in it. And so, and then of course the interaction with the children was fun, right? And but the interact and having being able to work with my friends and doing summer camps and being able to do all these things outside was great, right? But really, it was that honor of the role is what really what kept me in.
I love that she set that standard. I remember dropping my kids off at preschool for the first time, and as a parent, it's, like, heart-wrenching. At least for me, it was. It's the first time that you're trusting somebody you really don't know with your child, right? Unless you had, I mean, babysitters, but usually that was with family members. So when you're leaving them off at preschool and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I have no idea, you know, who these people are really that are going to now be taking care of my," and I was a stay-at-home mom during the early years. So to transition into that was hard. So I love that she set that standard because it was so important that you had those relationships.
Yeah, and it's funny because I have three kids of my own now, right?
Yes.
And my wife is a preschool teacher, right, in the classroom still, and all of our boys went to that preschool. And even then, with our first one, even then, right, I got to experience it right on the parent side. My oldest is
Yeah.
10 now. But I remember, yeah, like him going to preschool, I was like, even though I knew them and I knew my wife was there, it's still different. It's not my family or me caring for him. And I'll never forget our first parent teacher conference. And I remember like getting teary at how well and how much they saw him and knew him as a person. I was so
Yeah,
impressed and was so relieved. That's why it's so personal for me too. This, like, because my children went through it. I see it. And my wife does it every day in the classroom. So I know dedication these people have, and I know the impact on the world that time in our lives has.
oh,
I think to me it's right. We all know the development of the brain and the importance of it from 0 to 5, right?
mhm.
But I think sometimes what maybe doesn't get discussed or is maybe lost is how that 0 to 5 development carries on throughout our life, right? And hence carries on throughout our country, and our interactions, right? So it's like, it's a big deal.
We're setting the foundation even though most of us can't remember those years. Yeah, we're setting the foundation for our future because it's what is it? It's a biological almost response that you're having as you're growing during those years, right? So it stays
Yeah.
with, I'm trying to find the right words. It stays with you internally, even though you can't necessarily recall the memory of it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's so important. Those are such formative years for young people that a good preschool can make or break, or any preschool rather, can make or break your long-term development. So,
That's right.
yeah. So I applaud you for doing that. That's amazing. Was there a moment in the classroom when you realized that the system itself needed to change?
Yeah, I think that came my final 2 years, like, full time in the classroom, even though it was so long ago, those systems are kinda still in place, and then as I began doing one-on-one recruiting for preschools, I got to then experience it firsthand too on the school side as well as the teacher side. But when I was in the classroom those last 2 years, we were just constantly maxing out our ratios, right? In California, there's ratios that are set, right, of adults to children.
Right. I
And
think in every state. They might be
and so
different, but I think everybody has them.
gotcha, yeah. And so and the company I was working for was just constantly maxing them out, right? And there just wasn't the time to really be prepped, right? And to be ready and to be fully present as best as we could, right? With two people and 24 children.
Mm,
The children were safe, right? And they developed, right? And we met milestones, of course, and we hit all of our check boxes.
right.
But it feels more like directing traffic to some degree at some times, right? You're not, um, with 24 3-year-olds and two people, it's like you get it all done, but there's a cost, right? An expense to it. And so that, made me, that kind of planted a seed. And then, but it wasn't until many years later when I was now uh, working with my first client one on one, helping them with their recruiting needs, that I began to see behind the scenes of the current systems in place, right? The current recruiting systems, the current platforms, and the current gap in the systems. So I began to see it and experience it and really start looking for a solution.
Yeah. Well, before we get to that, let's talk about your
Yeah.
time in biotech manufacturing leadership, which is very different, I would imagine, from the preschool. How did that experience shape the way you think about education systems and staffings?
Yeah, it was very different technically, right, of course. The technical, physical aspects were very different. I went in as a temporary employee on an assembly line, in the manufacturing line, and knew nothing about SOPs or the federal code of regulations or anything like that, you know? But I love to learn, and so I learned.
Yeah.
I put time in and dedicated energy and effort and what I think the edge that I had, if you wanna call it that, or I think I should say, I guess, the opportunity for me was there to succeed, aside from my desire to learn and my effort, because of my background working with children, is to me what I believe, because I'm now working with adults who are also humans, right? And so
Right.
and so it's a lot of
And
the
many
same
are
rules apply.
many still act like preschool children.
Right. Right. And so I just, put in time and energy, and I was determined to learn, and I liked it. It was
Yeah.
actually enjoyable. It was I liked the new environment. I liked the new task. I liked the new challenge, and I like working with people. And it was a team environment. You have to work as a team
Yeah.
in the manufacturing facilities. Otherwise, the product won't complete. You won't complete a product. You won't have a finished product if you don't work as a team. And I was also fortunate that the environment I walked into wasn't the most polished, right? It wasn't the most set. And so new management came in and they
Mm.
established some new guidelines. And because of that, me and another person were promoted very quickly. We got a very big promotion in a short period of time, which
Nice.
I was now required. Yes, I was now required to not only learn but manage a group of people.
Yeah.
And so, and again, because of my background with working with children and kind of how I was raised and the things I was taught by Kelly and my parents, right? This idea of how we live in the world together. 99% of my work was personal amongst the employees. Maybe 1% was technical, right? Because
Mm.
I can teach the technical. I learned the technical side and the skills quickly. I learned about SOPs. I revised the SOPs. I made trainings. I learned the regulations, right? So I can teach that,
Right.
but the personal aspect is different, right? And so as a result, my manufacturing teams were I think pretty happy and pretty fulfilled. And I don't say that as an assumption. I say that I know because I would proactively ask for feedback. I remember reading an article about uh, how politicians. It was about different careers and who receives the most feedback, right? Kind of thing. And they said the
Mhm.
politicians get the most feedback, right? Constantly polls and right. And so I was like, oh, I like that. And so I used to send out my polling numbers to my team. Anonymous polling numbers, and I would post
Oh,
them in the window of my office. My polling numbers, you know, and
yeah.
and they weren't always great, right? There were issues, and so, but I know that as a result of that, and I know because of personal connections I have still with people there, that they were happy and fulfilled, and we produced as a result, and I was always upfront and honest with my team and my boss. I would tell my boss, look, I was fortunate again to have really fantastic managers
Yeah.
again, right? That saw some value in me, saw opportunity, and breathed life into me, right? And gave me opportunity. And so I was always upfront and honest, and I would say things to my boss like, look, this corporate rollout thing, we'll try it. If it doesn't work, I'm not going to use it. He would say, no problem. Go try it. And so
Yeah.
my team would know. So I'm middle management, so my team would know. I'd say, hey, look, it's a new thing coming. We'll try it. We'll see how it goes. If we like it,
Yeah.
we'll keep doing it. If not, don't worry about it. That kind of stuff, and I would have lots of conversations with them about what they want to do in their life, right? I would say, I don't take it personal. If you don't want to be here, this is a stepping stone for you. Great. I'm not personally offended. I want you to be happy. Let's get you to where you want to go. So I had lots
Yep.
of those kind of conversations. And again, that all came from my experience working with children, right? And being shown how to respect and honor and care for people.
Yeah, I like what you just said. Let's get you where you wanna go. It's so
Yeah.
important. If you find out what people want from their job, from their life, from their whatever, right? I mean, to be able to be that mentor and how do we help you get there and reach your goals? So I love that you kinda take your ego out of it and you just are like, "I wanna be of service to you," and then you get more out of them, right? It's just
Yeah,
brilliant. More people don't think that way.
yeah. It's funny, 'cause it's almost like I have to tell my team all the time, I'm like, "Look, we have the CFRs, right? We have the SOP. It's like a cheat sheet.
Yeah,
It seems like it shouldn't be allowed, but it's actually our job. We just follow these rules. Don't worry
right.
about it." And the same as those conversations, it's almost like you just asked a question.
Yeah.
But for some reason, yeah, I don't know why it doesn't happen more often.
A lot of people don't ask the question. I don't think I was ever asked the question in
Right.
my life, but I would have loved. So we mentioned in the intro something called Six Sigma principles, which was new for me. So how does that connect with preschool education? Do you see any parallels between the two? First of all, what is
You
it?
know,
What it is?
yeah. Yeah, Six Sigma is basically, the idea that in a standard process, right, or in a process or processes, there's a standard deviation, one sigma, either one way down the line. If I'm simplifying it, you have a line, right?
Mhm. Yep.
And you have your desired outcome for your process, right?
Yep.
And what you do is you design the process so that you'll still hit your target even within Six Sigma. So within six standard deviations of your process, you'll still hit your goal. So
Okay.
basically, it's like a really dialed in process where your goals are achieved almost no matter what.
Okay.
And um, there's also there's more to it. There's a lot more to it. And there's also different belts. There's black belts also that are a black belt. A Six Sigma black belt is an actual position you can have and be hired for. A company will hire you to be their Six Sigma black belt.
Oh,
Um, anyway, and so for me, I don't know if it applies to preschool, but for me, it applies to the preschool kind of staffing procedures and processes, right? So for me, I think about it in the sense that it has allowed me to build a process that I believe is successful for teachers, schools, and children, right? So for me, I think my understanding of it and experience with it and the thought process being we need a system that's going to hit the target for all of us, not just one deviation or one area. We need a
mhm.
process that benefits teachers, schools, most importantly, the children. And I believe our platform that we have does that.
And the platform is ratio staffing. So what makes ratio staffing fundamentally different from traditional staffing models?
Yeah, the well, first and foremost, we have only the ECE world on our platform. So there's no other industries on there. So that in
Okay.
itself is different, right? It's just the ECE world, which doesn't exist right now as a whole marketplace except for ours. So that in itself is different. I think also what makes it different is that we don't take a standard staffing approach or thought process because ECE is not a standard process. The preschool world's very different than other industries and other worlds, right? It's a world in and of itself, and it's again, like we said, it's so important and so integral that there has to be a thoughtful approach in how the platform's built, which is what we took. So it's an intentional approach, an intentional design to to serve the ECE world only. And so what you'll see different is there's a lot of I should say there's a lack of these kind of restrictions and buyout fees and requirements, right? There's actually a lot more flexibility built in. So schools have a very low entry point to the platform at $25 a month. From there, they then buy a bank of credits, and those credits can then be used for different features on the platform. So it gives them flexibility and agency, right, to use what they need, not be locked in and restricted to certain features only per month and this kind of thing. Also, the teachers themselves have lots of agency and flexibility. No one is telling them where to go. No one's telling them what to do, right? They're given the opportunity to find positions they want, set their availability, right? Find schools they want, and really work based on their need, not an agency telling them what they have to do.
That's
So it's yeah, it's definitely different in that way. And same goes for the schools. There's when a school signs up with an agency, there's a lot of restrictions in that contract and in that agreement, especially around hiring and retaining the teachers full time.
So, under this program, schools can choose teachers and educators, and they can negotiate fair rates between each other. Is that correct?
That's right. So a school can find teachers in a number of ways. One being they can filter and search profiles and contact that teacher directly. And our filters and our profile areas are again strictly around the ECE world. The schools also can post a job and receive applications to that job if they want instead. So they can set a job out and passively and receive applications, or at the same time, if they want, they can also proactively search out teachers in our database and contact them directly. And they can
So,
filter,
yeah, keep going. I'm sorry.
yeah. So and they can filter uh, based on what they're looking for. They can filter based on age group experience, philosophy experience, this kind of thing, and find the teachers they want to find, and then contact them directly.
So, as you're talking, it sounds to me like it's an Indeed type platform specifically for educators. Am I getting
Yeah,
that
there's
right?
definitely yeah, there's definitely features similar to Indeed in that way, where they can post a job and have the profiles and receive applications. It's also different in the sense of there are, again, the bank of credits and set rates. There's no per click cost feature. There's no there's no restriction on contact information, right? There's more direct connection to the teachers as well. Also on the teacher side, what's different is the teacher isn't sifting through, again, other agencies or organizations that are not involved in the ECE world. They also don't have to worry about seeing the ads, right, that have been sponsored by the schools that can afford it only. Because from the
Mm,
teacher side, I don't think teachers always understand that when you go on these larger platforms, if you search for a job, that first one or two pages, similar to Google, are only
right.
the schools that can afford to have their ad on those first two pages. So the school you love might be 20 pages down. You're never going to see it because they can't
Mm,
afford to have their job on the first two pages. So
right.
we don't run it that way. So teachers have more access to more opportunities right up front.
Is this available nationwide or is this only in California?
So we're in California and
Yep.
Toronto, and
Okay.
we're expanding to Rhode Island now as well. And so we're working on different marketplaces. What we're trying to do is intentionally go to markets that we're familiar with and know the need is there. So like the Bay Area, LA, or really all of California, Massachusetts, Rhode Island area, New England, we know is needed there, as
Mhm.
well as Toronto are the three markets that we know we're familiar with and know the needs there. Been in contact with people in those regions who want it and need it. So that's what we're doing right now. But we definitely will be expanding to other regions across the country because the way it's built, we can be anywhere. And the way the platform is built, we have region specific requirements in there. As you log on and select your region, you'll see the requirements for your profile update per your region.
And I would imagine you can put in within a 50-mile radius or something, right?
Right. That's
Something
right.
like. Okay, cool.
Yep.
What are some of the biggest struggles that schools face today when it comes to staffing?
Yeah, what I find is honestly this connection, right? There is a concern around the number of teachers in the field in general, right? What I found is that there is potentially a lack of teachers who are already qualified per their state, like units completed, experience completed, that kind of thing, ready to go. But I have not found a lack of people who want to be involved, right? There's people who want to be involved, who want to be a teacher. It's the connection that's the problem. The schools and teachers just cannot connect. So
Hmm.
that's what I found has been the biggest sticking point is the connection. And then as a result, finding them within a short period of time. Schools have a hard time finding teachers, not only finding them in a short window. It's a lengthy process right now to find a teacher and bring them on, right? Of course, there's always the substitute issue also, finding real-time subs real
Right.
time, ready to go for you, same day, that kind of thing. So we have that resolved also on our platform. You can find real-time subs. You also can find subs for the future as well. But so I guess the 3 points I found is connection, the timeline of connection, and then real-time availability.
So you think there's enough people going into the field of education and graduating with teaching degrees?
Yeah, I
Is
think
that
there's enough people who want to be involved, and I also
yeah.
think there are a number of organizations out there, city funded, county funded, this kind of thing, nonprofits that are helping teachers acquire that education, which I'm so excited about. There's lots of companies out there doing a lot of good work. Um, and so I think that's I've seen a big change in that, at least a big shift to more of those agencies coming out.
Yeah.
So that's been great. I love that. So there's definitely opportunity to get educated. There's opportunity for work. We just got to get them connected.
Yeah, no, I think this is just it's so interesting. I've been doing a lot of podcasts recently about education, and one thing they said is in our area that enrollment is down. Part of it is due to the charter schools, and part of it is due to homeschooling becoming more popular.
Mm,
So, yeah, it's been interesting with all the obviously, there's a lot of news media about what happens in schools nowadays with the school shootings and different it's not always doesn't feel safe, right? So, it's interesting to see the shift. Are you seeing that where you are too? Is there a shift in enrollment?
I don't know about school age enrollment as much. I know that with in the Bay Area at least, and I think LA is the same, with this expectation and requirement to come back to the office, what I've seen and heard is that preschool enrollment is increasing because
Okay.
people are coming back to the area. And so
Yeah.
there's been an increase in really the biggest increase has been in infant toddler programs.
Mm. Yeah.
More infant toddler programs are opening up and more infant toddler enrollment. And then the need for infant toddler teachers has increased.
Interesting, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. Because the cost has been rising too over the years. I mean, I thought it was expensive when I put my kids in,
Yeah.
especially in toddler ages. I don't think I started my daughter till she was 3 or 4, but she's 24 now, so I can't remember a long time ago anyway. I thought it was expensive then, which is why I stayed home and took care of her for the early years. I'm
Right.
like, I have a son too. I'm like, I can't have 2 kids in daycare. I might as well stay home, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's how we felt about it when our first two were little, or smaller, I should say, littler. We did the
Yeah.
same thing. We both worked part time. My wife worked part time as a teacher. I was in the part time kind of recruiting. As we figured, if we put them both in full time, forget it. We'll be paying all the money we're working for to someone else. We might as well make the less and save it and be home.
Yeah, I think that's a challenge a lot of people face, even more so today, for sure.
Yeah.
So you have described traditional staffing agencies as predatory. What specifically did you see that concerned you?
The traditional staffing agencies, I should say, I'll clarify, are ones that I mean are providing substitutes to preschools, the kind of substitute agencies I've seen being predatory because the process goes like this. The sub agency employs the sub. They lease them out to the preschool at an hourly rate that's pretty steep. The the teacher has no say in where they go.
Hmm.
They have to go wherever they tell them to go. The school has no say in who shows up. They just get someone showing up at their door. If for some reason it works out, which it has, where the school and the teacher, it's actually a match and the school has an opening and they want to retain that teacher full time, they have to buy that teacher out of their contract.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, all these things I don't are allowed obviously in our country, and they're allowed to make their money and do their thing. The concern I have is, to me, would seem most detrimental and in some ways to me a more of a predatory nature is if that substitute quits the agency, they're not allowed to be hired at the schools they've worked for a period of time. They put hiring blackout dates on them,
Mhm.
which means now this teacher, even though they've quit the agency, has lost the freedom for them to choose where they want to go. Right now, I don't know how enforceable that even is, but the schools are so petrified they're going to be charged that fee they don't go near them. Right
Yeah.
now, that to me is unacceptable. But what really did it for me, what made it worse, for me, like the nail in the coffin was I began hearing from teachers during these interview processes that they're going, I don't know why I haven't been hired away from the agency. I've subbed at so many places. They're unaware of the buyout fee.
Mm.
So they don't even tell them about it. Maybe it's somewhere in the contract they sign.
Yeah.
So these poor teachers walk away thinking something's wrong with me. No one wants to hire me.
Right.
Right. Which is to me not cool at all.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, what they don't see, again, based on the kind of opaque nature of the process, is the schools are saying, oh, They're just a body in the room. They just show up and sit there because the school is unaware that the teacher has no say in where they go. For all we know, that teacher has no experience in the age group, has no experience in the philosophy, but they're just sent out there,
Yeah.
right? So it's really detrimental to the teacher's career, right? And to their personal emotional state also, right? And so to me, it's like I don't agree with any of that, right? And so I don't like it.
How
You know, again, they're
long
allowed to have their business. I'm not saying you can't run a business however you want to run it. I'm just saying I don't agree with that. And so I wanted to find a different way forward. And so we
Yeah.
have our platform to resolve a lot of that.
How long has your platform been available?
It's been available. I had a platform, a manual sub platform a few years ago. This current platform now, this iteration now, the full marketplace was finished being coded August of 2025. And we've
Okay.
been tweaking it and refining it ever since. And so now, as of like March of 2026, we have everything ready to go. All the features, the whole marketplace, everything's ready. So we're really excited that we have all this to offer the world now.
That is exciting. So what surprised you most since launching?
One was the amount of subbing that was worked out and done ahead of time. It sounds small, but my assumption was a lot of the subbing would be real time need. Someone calls in sick. I
Right.
need someone right now.
Right.
Majority of it actually has been getting subs prepped to come in later to cover for medical leave, to cover vacations, that kind of thing.
Right.
And then again, something I was most was I was surprised. I don't know. It's always I'm always it feels funny saying this. I'm not
Yeah.
sure why I didn't think about this, right? But I was surprised and and really I was so excited to hear that the feedback from schools was my teachers are now using their vacation and calling in sick like they should because
Yeah.
they know someone's coming to cover their classroom, right? And so I was like, oh, and even I don't know why I didn't
That's
see. I was
funny.
so focused on I don't know just having it that so so teachers are excited that their school have their school's using the platform because they know a sub will be in. They know someone will cover for them, right? So that to
Right.
me
Because
was
they were
nice.
gonna take vacation no matter what and just call in sick when they were over in Europe, huh? Is that how they were doing it
Yeah, no. What happens normally is they don't call in sick. They don't take their vacation,
at all?
right? Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
because they feel guilty,
Okay.
right? They're worried. They're
Yeah.
worried no one's going to come cover,
Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha.
right?
Yeah.
So that was surprising, right? And that was nice that was really nice to hear. Also, what's been surprising is how vast and how similar the need is. Talking to different schools, different people in different parts of the country, and in Canada, it's a similar experience and a similar need just about
Yeah.
everywhere in the country so far. And I've talked to people.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine. Yeah. I mean, yeah, people want to, and plus, a lot of these people are childbearing ages. They want to take time off to have their baby, and they know approximately when they're going to be in the hospital. And yeah, so there's all kinds of reasons, right? Or you need to schedule a surgery and you want your classroom covered. I think that's great. It's
Yeah,
brilliant.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Makes
just
sense.
the feeling and experience with the larger platforms and the inefficiency of it and how unsuccessful schools are using these standard platforms has been the same experience all across the country, which was surprising to me.
Yeah. I think it's going to be huge. It's such a need. How difficult is
Yeah,
it to balance mission and business at the same time?
that's really difficult for me just because that's not I don't come from that. Yeah, because I want to. I want everyone to connect and have it and be happy. That's what I want. I want the mission to me is paramount, right? So
Yeah.
I think the balance for me is leading with that heart, of course, leading with my heart, but also remembering, like I learned in manufacturing, that people like to say safety first, but actually the first rule is right to operate. If we don't have right to operate, meaning we've broken the law, there's no reason for it to be safe because no one's here. No one has a job. So I try and think about that. The mission is paramount, but I also
Yeah.
try and make sure that we need to have right to operate, meaning we need to be functional in an operating business first. Otherwise, the mission goes nowhere either. So they
Right.
have to be hand in hand.
Yeah. It is a balancing act, though,
Yeah.
right? Have you had a moment yet where you realize this is actually making a real difference?
Yeah, I think my first so when I had my first manual sub platform, which is then this marketplace thing grew into, my very first sub that was quote unquote hired away, like retained by a
Yeah.
school, was I get goosebumps thinking about it still. She, she was a bilingual teacher, Spanish English, and when I first met her, she said to me, admittedly, she goes, "Paul, I prefer to speak Spanish. I'm a little bit older," she says. "I don't like the computer and platforms, but I need to find some new work." I was like, "Great, that's why we have this, you know." And sure enough, within her first week of subbing, she was hired and retained at a Spanish speaking preschool. And she
Wow.
got back to me. She's like, "Paul, I love this." She's still there. This is 7 years ago. And she was, no, sorry, this is my the sub platform. So it was like 4 years ago. And so she was like, "I love it. I never would have found this job without it. I'm me personally, I'm close to that school still." And I was
Mhm.
like, "Man, that's exactly what I'm talking about, right? There needs to be this freedom and flexibility and real exploration and other ways to connect. It can't be just one size fits all with these other platforms." So that to me, I was like, I know it's making a difference, even with that one person. And then when I began to hear the feedback of teachers being happy and taking their time off, I knew we had something, and that
Yeah,
we had to keep moving with it.
that's a great story. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Why do you believe investing in educators is really an investment in society itself?
Well, because those educators are growing society, right? Those educators, they're they're they
Well, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's it's so everyone has to be taught at some point in our life, right? We all are taught. This
Right,
idea of being a teacher to me never ends, or being taught never ends.
right.
And when the foundation is being set from 0 to 5, who's more important in the world? I don't know anyone else more important, right?
Yeah.
And so, and all because how I think about it, I've said it before, but to me, it's true, right? The point being, everything that we believe the world needs and how the world should live and exist is happening in those preschool classrooms. It's happening right there, right? And
Mm,
for it to go out and flourish and thrive in the world, you need supported, right? Honored, fulfilled teachers to do that. If we're not
right,
taking care of them, how do we expect them to take care of them? Right? It's that age old, it's nothing new,
right,
right? If they're not being cared for and their tank is empty, how are they going to be able to take care of those children? And they shouldn't be expected to, right? The expectation shouldn't be they have to take care of it all on their own and figure it does, we don't treat any other career or industry that way.
right.
So why are teachers treated that way? Especially preschool teachers. I don't understand, you know?
And they're heroes because that's I think 0 to 5 is a really difficult age group. I really think that
Yeah.
that's when I look back at parenting, 0 to 5 is, because I mean, it's difficult in that they can't do much for themselves, right? So they need a lot of assistance. But it's also so joyous because they're seeing everything for the first time and to keep seeing things over and over again through their eyes. It's really so much fun, right? To realize,
Yeah.
oh, that's the first time they've seen a rainbow, or that's the first time they've put their fingers in paint or whatever, right? It's just,
Right.
there's a lot of this, and those are really fun moments. Don't you agree?
I
So
do.
much fun.
I do.
Not
Yeah.
challenging, right? There's like the word "no" comes into their vocabulary and
Yeah. I
like,
have a
"Wait a minute,
4-year-old now. So our boys are 10, 7, and 4. And so,
yes,
and
you're
so
still
my 4, we're still in it.
in it. You got all boys. You
All
got
boys.
blessed.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you gonna keep trying for a girl?
No, we're done.
You're done, okay. Was
Yeah.
that your choice
Yeah.
or your
3.
wife's mutual?
No, it's mutual. 3 is plenty.
Like, we're done.
Yeah. We're done. Yeah.
3 is plenty. I got one of each. I'm very lucky to have a boy and a
Yeah.
girl. So my girl can take care of me when I'm older. My son doesn't talk to me anymore unless what qualities make someone truly great with young children?
Well, that's tough, because we need all the qualities, right? Because we have all the children, right? So we have all the people, meaning everyone's different, right? So I think we can't have a set of qualities. We need to have that mix of multiple people. We need the village. We need all the qualities. But if I have to make a list and choose, I think, boy, I think you have to you have to have the ability to remove yourself, right, and have that balance of confidence and lack of ego at the same time, right? Because it's those teachers that really trust their knowledge of the children they're watching and caring for that can step back and allow the children to try on their own first. Not dangerous, obviously, not jump off a whatever by themselves first, but to
Yeah,
resolve conflict on their own first, right? To explore on their own first and just to observe and be that, unbeknownst to the child, that
right.
structure for them, right? So I think to be a great childcare provider and a great teacher, I think you need first and foremost that empathy, right? That desire to breathe life in, to turn someone's light up, not to dim someone's light. You need that. I think that goes across all teachers, right? Of any background and skill set and whatever. As a team, everyone has to have that desire to turn someone's light up and not dim it and remove themselves from the situation, right? And plant that tree you're never going to see, that kind of stuff, right? I think you have to have that. But overall skill set, I wouldn't stick to one set skill set because it won't be one person with the children. It's a team. And so we need all those skills, all that background.
Yeah, I love that answer. It's reminding me, I have a girlfriend who teaches early childhood also, and she told me a story about the kids will come to her wanting to resolve a conflict, right? They'll say, "So and so took my toy," and they'll want Miss Ashley to get involved, and she's very good at putting it back on them and saying, "You need to figure out a way to resolve it on your own." Like, or asking the question, "What would be a good way to resolve this?" And then
Yeah.
just and because I think you wanna go in and solve the problem, right? Even as an adult, like, sometimes we're not taught to communicate very well either, so sometimes you just wanna go fix it, and it's so good that she's just I love how she told the story of, "No, I put it back on them to have the curiosity and discover ways to interact in a positive way." So, you're absolutely right, it takes yeah, but I can see times when teachers might be frazzled and tired and just be like, "Just give me the damn toy."
Right. I mean, of course, the same goes with my own children, right? I would love to say every time I'm patient and say, "Hey, come on, let's work through it," but I'm not.
Right,
Sometimes my tank is empty and I'm like, "Look, that's enough. I don't care. It's over. Give it to me."
right.
Right? We're shutting it all down.
I know, I know, I know. I love the psychology of we have to be really patient parents, but or caregivers or teachers, but there are times when you're exhausted, right? And
That's
especially in a
right.
classroom with a ratio of 2 to 24 3-year-olds running around,
Right.
they can
Right.
be trying. I'm sure they can try your energies at times. We're gonna move on to AI because everyone's talking about it. So we hear a lot about AI and technology replacing jobs. Do you think human connection in early childhood education becomes even more valuable in that kind of future?
Oh yeah. Yeah. You know, I love this idea because, or not the idea, but I love the what's happening because all it does is speak more and more to the value of preschool teachers, the value of in-person connection, right? The value of community, right? That's to me, that's all it does is prove the point that I don't have a problem with AI being used in the world, right? In certain ways, I get it, and it's here and it's going to be used and it's happening. So it's not like we're going to roll back that clock and put the genie back in the bottle. That's not going to happen. What I see instead, what is going to happen is more in-person connection, right? Is increased value in a preschool teacher in a community in person, right? So to me, it's all it does is speak to the necessity of your child being around other children, being around other humans, and
Yeah,
meeting face to face and playing together and learning together. To me, that's all that does. And later, as they grow older, perhaps they'll use AI or whatever the next iteration is, right, in their life as a teenager, an adult, or whatever. But it doesn't take away from the availability and prevalence of AI. Doesn't take away from the opportunity to meet with a preschool teacher in person, right? It doesn't remove the teacher from the world. So
yep.
not with preschoolers at least. So I'm
Yeah.
not to me, I like that it doesn't really apply to us in that way.
I like that you're so passionate about community and connection. That's why I created Joy to Hang. It's all about connection and making because I do, I fear that as we get older, certainly, there's a big issue with isolation in our world, and people feel more isolated even though we have all these great ways of staying connected, right? So I do love that you're so passionate about it and setting that stage early. Hopefully, it's something to carry with them through life because it's critical to our longevity and our health that we stay in
It really
community.
is. Yeah,
Yeah.
I loved, hearing about I forget which interview it was on, but I read some articles about it as well. Those
Mhm.
studies done on, like, strong connections and weak connections in our
Mhm.
life, and the benefits of those quote unquote "weak connections," just even like the person at the coffee shop, the newsstand, how it having those weak connections in life really
Yeah.
can, speak to your longevity and happiness, and, like, I love that because I love being outside and being in my neighborhood, in our community here in San Francisco, and having these acquaintances and weak connections and my strong connections, to me, I love that. I love being a human out in the world with those things. It's so nice to hear the science behind it too, the benefits of it in our
Yeah.
life and our longevity. I'm like, oh, thank God. I'm glad there's like even science to it.
Well, if you're interested in learning more, I read a book recently by Dr. It's Vivek Murthy. I follow him and I think the name of his book is called Together. But
Okay.
anyway, talks a lot about he's the one that did huge study and discovered that isolation has become an epidemic in our country. He used to be a
Mm.
surgeon general, US surgeon general.
Oh
But
yeah,
anyway,
right. That's right.
did
Yep.
did a lot of research about that. But I'm also very passionate about it for lots of reasons. So, what worries you most about the future of education? And then what gives you hope?
I think, yeah, what worries me and I guess has been kind of worrying me is less and less human connection and even, or I should say less, not human connection, but I guess it's more kind of tangible connection, tactile connection, less books, less textbooks, right? Things being
Right.
on the computer all the time, right? The screen time in
Mhm.
classrooms, even starting in kindergarten, this kind of stuff, right? That to me was always my kind of ongoing larger concern that there's lack of tactile, textile even feeling and sensory exploration in school. I'd like to
Mhm.
see more and more sensory exploration and more human connection in school. And what's been reassuring is I think that some of that's coming. I think some of that tide has been shifting. I was reading about a couple of smaller school districts that are going back to textbooks out of the request of the students. The students wanted books back, which I love.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that I think it's funny. It's this funny kind of juxtaposition, right, of like the prevalence of AI coming, yet some of this feeling of let's get back to some older ways of doing things. It's
Yeah.
so funny. So that to me, I think is reassuring for me that this idea that people do want to be in person, they do want to meet people, they want books and things, and parents I know want children to be out exploring and feeling and having, I guess, old fashioned skills, right? I think there's been like an increase in enrollment in trades and that kind of thing, which I love to hear, right? So I think maybe there's this happy, maybe there's this happy melding, of a
Yeah, we're
return to trades and return to manufacturing and a return to skilled labor. Maybe there's a
yeah,
return to that, and AI takes over other stuff. But maybe there's a return actually to that. Is
that's
what
a
I think about. Yeah.
yeah.
But that's my only kind of concern for a while now is this idea of less sensory exploration and less kind of tactile feeling of things. And I'd like to see more of that.
And what gives you hope when you think about education? What gives you hope?
Yeah, I think what gives me hope is I know there's so many people out there who care. There's so many people who still care and have a love for it and do it for the love of it. Right? I
Yeah,
know they're out there. I've met them. I've heard them. I know they're there. I know there are so many people far more educated than me and far more qualified than I am who are out there doing it, right? Who are out there on this pursuit of ensuring the betterment of our families and our children and our future. So that I always remember that too. There's plenty of people out there doing it, not just me. There's so many
yeah,
people who care and who are trying, right? And so that's what gives me the hope and reassures me. People like yourself, right? These things matter. The conversations, these platforms matter, and so many
Yeah.
people are doing it, right? And so that always, I'm always reassured that I'm not alone in this want and care for the world and for our society.
Yeah. I like what you said about books, and hopefully you're right in that people are going back to them. I find that when I read a book, I retain it better than if I read it from a Kindle or from my laptop, and I don't like reading it on the screen. I like to flip the pages. I like to get the old-fashioned highlighter out and highlight
Yeah.
different sections, and I like to, turn over the dog ear and remember the page that it was on. And I know you can do all that stuff digitally. I understand, but I think I'm from an era that it's like there's something about the smell of the book, the feel of the page, all of it that really is impactful for me. I don't know if other people get that same experience, but when I look at a screen, I don't get that same sort of, I don't know, just that whole experience is different for me. Does that make sense?
Same. I feel the same way.
Yeah.
There's a friend of mine, I haven't verified this, so I don't know, but I imagine someone out there does and can. There is supposedly science around this idea too, that when you read a physical book, your retention is greater than reading it electronically.
Yeah.
And he's a my friend's a writer and a poet that previously used to work for a textbook company, and so the textbook publisher. And so he was the one telling me about this science around the retention, and I'm sure it's true also because of just my own personal experience and everyone else I know. But also I read, a couple of things on human memory, right, and retention. And
Mm,
one book that I loved in particular was Moonwalking with Einstein, right?
true.
About memory. And in there
Mhm.
it talks about a lot about how the brain memory functions and why. And this idea of association. Right. So I think if you have more than one level of association, your brain can retain it. So if you smell the book, you feel the book, you highlight it,
Yes.
right? You're touching the page. I think that actually does help with retention physiologically also. I'm not an expert on it, obviously, so I'm not saying for sure, but I think it is true. I think there's something to that.
Well, and I think it slows down the pace of the reading too. I think
Mhm.
it forces you to be intentional and slow down a little bit and really absorb it. At least it does for me.
Yeah,
So, fingers crossed that you're right about the going back to the book.
yeah,
It was my favorite thing, reading books to my kids when they were little, so, so hopefully
yeah.
you're never lose
We
that.
love yeah, we read every night. We read our boys are always got books out and doing stuff, and we do bedtime books, and yeah, we love it.
It's the best. If you could
Yeah.
redesign early childhood education from the ground up, what would be the first thing you'd change?
Oof.
Sorry, I'm throwing you some hard ones.
No,
Only
yeah.
I promise.
I think first and foremost, if I can wave a magic wand, I would change the societal perception, I guess, right? You know what I mean? I would change perception around the importance of it. I think
Yeah,
that foundational perception and respect has to change. I think from there, then everything else kind of rolls. Then you have a different pay scale. You have, right, different uh, respect, right? So teachers are paid differently. Teachers are, everything's different. I think because in my opinion, the teachers should be on par with lawyers, doctors, that kind of thing. Now, I don't mean on par. I mean the pay scale should be similar, or the respect should be similar. I don't understand why it's not. So I think if I could
so
rebuild it from the ground up,
yeah, so just clarify for me, what do you think the perception is now of specifically early childhood teachers? Do you think that they're seen more as babysitters and therefore not
yeah,
given the
that's right. I think on the whole, the perception is you're just watching kids, like you're babysitting. You're quote unquote just taking care of kids as if that's like nothing,
respect?
and it is a hard balance too because the educational requirements for the positions in some states aren't great. Meaning there's not a lot of units required to be an official preschool teacher, right?
Yeah,
But that's not because the rest of the education isn't helpful or necessary. It's because we need easy access to ensure we have enough teachers in the system too. Or you can't have so many barriers where no one becomes the teacher, especially when it's so expensive to live in the country,
yeah,
right? So it is like this hard mix, of getting people in and ensuring they're qualified, right?
right.
And so I think if the perception was different, maybe we'd have different government programs ensuring payment, right? Ensuring compensation, ease of access to education, you know what I mean, and ease of access to work, right? So I think would be a different approach if the perception and if the society gave the value to it or valued it like they should.
So I'm going to ask you to educate me now because I'm not that familiar with California. So in Maine, most of the early childhood centers are privately owned. So the teachers are being paid from an owner. So I'm assuming it's from the money we as parents paid them, right? So in California, are they mostly run through the government, or is early childhood education, are the teachers paid through your tax dollars, or is it
No,
private?
this it's the same. Yeah, same in California. There's lots of private. It's private. Yeah, privately owned. And then
Okay.
there are a number of grant funded, like county funded, like local civic programs too, right? That
Okay.
are either funded or subsidized, right? And the subsidy then goes to teacher wages. Right? So
Okay.
there is a government subsidy to ensure teachers are getting paid a certain wage. You're only getting that subsidy for your wage if you work in those city, county funded programs.
Okay. So the privately held one, the wages are determined then by whoever owns that particular facility.
That's right.
Okay. So some can make more and some will make less.
Yep,
Got it.
that's right.
Okay. Got it. What kind of world do you hope today's children inherit?
Ooh, I think about my own children, I hope they inherit a world that is collaborative, right? And works together and looks at the whole is what I hope, right? I hope
Yes.
that they inherit a world in a country where we work together and we think of others, honestly. If we can
Yes.
think of others, right? And we can trust in this process together and win together is the world I want them to live in and have.
Yeah. Sadly, I'm not sure they'll inherit it, but I sure as hell hope they create it.
Right,
Right?
right.
Yeah. So we're going to start with our speed round.
Okay,
I call this the last word, just one sentence for each. You ready? You're going
okay.
to fill in the blank on the first one. Number one, a child needs more blank and less blank.
More play, less curriculum.
Oh, I like that. You think they learn more from play?
We're talking 0 to 5, yeah. They need more play and less curriculum.
I like that. Number two, the best teachers always.
Ooh, the best teachers always love and laugh.
Oh, I like that. And number three, one thing every parent should remember is.
One thing every parent should remember is you're doing a great job, right? You're doing the best you can, right? And be proud of you doing the best you can.
Yeah, I think they need to hear that more often. I know I did.
Yeah, I do.
There were many a trip to Walmart when I didn't think I was doing so well with my
Right.
kids. And throwing stuff. Oh God. Number four, success means.
I think success means contentment. I'm content, fulfilled, I'm successful.
I like that. Number five, the world would be better if we all.
Yeah, I think like I said, the world would be better if we all win together and work together.
Number six, one lesson children teach adults is.
Ooh. One lesson children teach adults is that our emotions are real. We have emotions. Let's live in the emotions. Let's stop denying the emotion.
I like that. I like that. Number seven, last question. At the end of your life, what do you hope people say that you changed?
Ooh, yeah. Um, I hope at the end of my life that I hope my children say that I changed, cycles in our family's lives. Right. I hope people say that Paul. I really hope people say Paul did his best. He did his best, and that changed some cycles.
I love that. Well, Paul,
Yeah.
thank you for this conversation. And honestly, thank you for the work you're doing behind the scenes to support the people shaping the next generation. I think today's episode is such an important reminder that when we invest in educators, we invest in children, families, and the future of our communities. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who cares about education, parenting, leadership, or creating meaningful change. And if you're enjoying Joy of the Hang, make sure you're following the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube so you never miss an episode. Until next time, stay connected, reach out to someone you care about, and remember, small moments of connection can change a life. See you next week. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Sharon.